Lyra. Lyra has two specific nebulas. One that starts out as Sagittarius at 0 point at 27 degrees. And another that starts at Vega at the skin, nose, eye, and valve of the universal body and universal mind. And this is where it affects out in the universe. And this is also how it affects you on the inside. Lyra 1, 0 degrees to 9 degrees Capricorn. Lyra 2 is 8 degrees to 1155 degrees Capricorn. And on the other side at 1555 to 18. Which is creating the body, transmuting it through the master body. And mastering the body. You're creating the body and transmuting and mastering the body. Vega 1355, which affects 1155 to 1555 Egyptian codes. Lyra 3 is at 20 degrees of Capricorn, which is 18 really starts, and so I in the book I include it 18 to 28. Because anybody in those degrees are really, really, really going to be feeling it, because you're merging all of them in the new reality and all the monad codes of 3 different, 6 different, depends on who you are, and you're mastering those abilities in all realms now. And then at 0 degrees is what's created from those Lyra 3, and then that's the wizard. Okay, and I'm going to leave this page up here as I read to you. And I'm going to, in the book, I broke this down in 33 and 44 patterns, and then 55 phonetic patterns. And then let's talk about, and in the book, there's astronomy and Ptolemy of Lyra. And so let's talk about that real quick. So you don't have to read it. You don't have to sit and listen and read a book. Let's just learn about Lyra. And then I'm going to go into, in this, the distinct differences right now between Lyra 1 and Lyra 2. And then I'm going to stop because it's a lot of information. So this video is going to cover Lyra 1 and Lyra 2. And this is the current writings in the book. I do have some editing that I need to do, so as you can see from the list above, Lyra inhabits much of Capricorn into Aquarius. Capricorn creates the 3D realm, and Lyra starseeds hold energetic glue in their fields to produce this glue around the degree the luminary falls on. If you look at the constellations, Lyra is next to Hercules. So as we get closer to the realm of matter, is linked to the human body, the human race, as much of skin is common among all of us. The further out you start in, Lyra 2, which is the true Lyra position in the constellations, which would be the body of Hercules. This is why Lyra has so many mixes of races, and Lyra is the 3rd root race of humans. Lyra has not 1 but 2 nebulas within its mass. Vega, being the brightest star of the group, landing at 13 degrees and 55 minutes, degrees Capricorn exactly. This degree gives the range of 12 to 16 degrees, which is directly across from Sirius B in Cancer at 12 to 16 degrees orb, and is considered the universal mind of the realm. At 15 degrees, we are now in the vein, the original root of the human DNA. Vegans are more ancient in a timeline perspective than Lyra, and are more equal to Sirius beings in regards to the ancient timelines. Aquatic ape from Vega was the first bodies used to start creating humans. Lyra 3 is the frequency merge of Lyra 1, which is realm or civilization, Lyra 2, which is the body, and Vega, blood, meaning you are embodying the frequency of all three to now produce a brand new frequency tuned to the whole and embodies the trinity of the races of Alpha Draconic and Lyra. I describe Lyra 3 Trinity as the hybrid or lichen, having gifts associated with what the 3D would call vampires, witches, and wolves, but all blended into a human genome to create a reality for the whole. This is where the conjunction of 2020 is happening, or did happen now, with Pluto and Saturn. Quantum conjunction of 22 is happening with Pluto and Saturn. Quantum Lyra 3 now takes this Trinity DNA into the quantum realm and borders Cygnus. This is where the collective is currently headed in 2020 as we go through the quantum shift, as each being remembers and becomes reacquainted with their gifts from other realms and puts down the judgment or the dark lower frequency ways of abusing their powers. Then when we, the collective, maintain the realm and shift to the higher frequency. When we look at Lyra, we are looking from both the micro and macro perspectives within one being. At its essence, we look at Lyra as two things: energetic glue and skin. When we understand the ascension of the one being, understand we speak of the one seed, where all human beings on this planet are currently coded. And yes, that is what I just said. Take a deep breath. Yes, you also hold this connection at the highest dimension of the human DNA genome, which means that you are in a piece of all beings. Now I understand that this is what is taught in the higher dimensions, and I understand that the programs of the Pleiades and the higher timelines of consciousness were unified because of this now. Pleiadians, by the way, were made up of the Lyran, Arcturian, Sirian, Orion races, and all the races that made up those races, and was still a programmed consciousness because the genome was not complete before now. For what had to happen in this ascension cycle was that enough of us Lyran beings who brought in these specific codes became conscious enough to put the Lyra cradle back together and gain and complete the genome. Your soul, at the highest organic state, is the energetic frequency of all human beings. This is why you never meet a stranger. Don't even bother telling me how bad it is, friend, because just telling me the story takes me there every time, doesn't it? Plus, we are MacGyver for reals. Since we are Lyran souls, we live tons of lifetimes in the physical. The higher the degree of Lyra, the more timelines you lived in the physical bodies. The degrees before Vega and on Vega would be considered before human to Polist, first civilization in this realm. Vega is the connection with Mars and enters into life and blood, but still in an aquatic animal instinctual form. Then more feline in form, leading into mammals and humans. The degree you progress further into Capricorn represents the progression into quantum, or the meeting of the galactic human for the new reality. The human is organically producing as a reality. So back to MacGyver. We have the Akash of all the timelines across our soul's lineages, and you just saw how high that is connected in the evolution of the human. So basically, we do and can channel all experiences. When we are in the flow, we just can't make it all happen, which is why we know how to do so much in the 3D. This is also why clearing Lyran lineages happened across the board in experiences. Realize that across timelines or past lives, we live these different lifetimes for now, no matter what it was. In fact, you can think of it this way. The worst it was, the more you are gaining right now as you read this, because this mission did complete, and we did return the human genome back to original monad code. So for us Lyrans, what does that mean? That means that any manipulation that was done to you or your lineage is now being erased from the overall program of the human consciousness, which is how we birthed a new Horus, or you can say birthed the first cosmic egg of a female seed, since the birth of the Lyran seed, whose energetic footprint your soul assisted in bringing in. That means that we are all quickly moving up in timelines as the shifts continue to unfold energetically on this planet until 2025. The one seed was cleared, which means you have been cleared. But it does take a perception shift to understand this and put down the weapons after a million-year war, doesn't it? But this is okay. Just understanding that this is why we feel resistance is key. Lyra characteristics. Do not ever tell a Lyran what to do, because they will always do the opposite. And this is the truth. This pattern is even seen in the numerology above, breaking down the word Lyra into different patterns, and you see mirror of 0110. For as a soul, we have descended into the lower dimensions so many times that we naturally know that the old rules were made to be broken. In fact, that is why we came into the lower dimension to break the rules, the programs. Our energy frequency is so high that when we lived out those experiences and bucked the system, we really did create a new energetic avenue for the whole seed. This is why this probably sounds familiar. OMG, I just thought of that invention, and there it is on the shelf a year later. Or, I just said, I wish these shoes from 1970 would come back in style. And I go to the mall, and then they're with every designer on the spring line. Yep, because we are the consciousness. I'm still really understanding what all this actually means. For it is a mind blower when we now realize that we are one in consciousness, since now the cosmic collective, Coco, has taken over the one seed consciousness. This is how reality is starting to shift so drastically, and we are just getting started. And this was May 2019. Breakdown of the Lyra degrees and the nebulas of Capricorn. Lyra 1. 0 to 9 degrees Capricorn. Original consciousness of the original beings and family lines that create the whole of reality for the rest of the collective. Beings that hold energy close to 1 degree of Capricorn and Polus are connected into the very fabric of the projections that create the world for the world. This genome is linked to what we would call the original vampires and original lines of beings that held group consciousness. However, these Lyra 1 lines are connected to the entire collective and do still manifest for the entire collective, whether they are aware or not. This can seem like a great challenge to Lyra 1 starseed and feels like you are not changing your world. However, the more powerful you are and the more macro your manifestations become, it is just a longer cycle to get back to you. Don't ever forget what you longed for and created before, no matter how long ago it was, for it does exist. At these degrees of Capricorn, you are also opposing the 0-9 degrees of Cancer in Sirius A. Sirius A is pure heart frequency of the collective. Realize the pressure you feel from making these decisions is coming from the entire collective heart, from inside the salt in your body, connected to all others in your line, which at this degree happens to be every human in existence. Vampiric and Rothschild lines hooked into royal lines held this placement, linked into the first root races of consciousness and then to the third root race of Lumeria. Lumeria would be the first merge that created what then was called Atlantis. However, the powering of light became their own demise in that timeline. Everything forms a polarity, and if you create it, you must deal with it. So do yourself a favor and stop creating problems. No more problems. Only solutions over here, you hear? Moo can describe this better. Lyra 1 beings. Holy floating Pegasus goats. Ghosts. When those uni-goats don't realize they are connected into the entire Yah framework, they are so sad. My goodness. Why? Because they float around on the outside of the entire dome of the other Yahs and don't realize that they are manifesting the Yah universe inside the Yah world of the Lyrans. They are the ones that are so ancient outside. Their beards are so long, and they are completely connected to all the free Yahs inside the universe. But he still has 2 horns, and he can't figure out that all he has to do is project himself there or arrange for everyone to come out and meet him. He has done it for so long that he just thinks he's supposed to stay that way, that he must hold up the gate and stay on the outside. The elders of Lyra, which is Lemuria and Atlantis archives, had record keepers, and our job was very important on this realm. Very, very, very important, the elders would say. They had all the original shells and 8 stories all the way back to salt. They are projected themselves into slavery of their own making by having to drum up so much low energy as a sacrifice in order to call us moose here. This is why this book is so important, you see. If you have any energy here, realize you are very powerful in your mind and in your judgment, whether secret or not, of all things. Yes, little old you, your opinion of everything matters. Literally. Trust me, my Jupiter is here at 1 degree, and it was a humdinger. The amount of knowledge and responsibility it has to hold this degree is powerful. This is why and how the elders get so trapped in their old projections, especially when we are all disconnecting suddenly from the frequency they risked all to create for the connection. So we don't blame him. We say hi to him as we pass through every time, but he is so attached to what he had manifest on the inside that he can't give that up to step into the world that all the others like him circling the pure frequency of the waves in the oceans in the air. He won't let himself change, and he just watches as the others disappear. However, the elders and the uni-goats did watch this and go all terribly wrong a bunch of times, and they remembered that too. And they created a lot of different bubbles and projections these elders had forgot to attempt again. These were long cycles, not ones just happen every year or lifetime. Their connections go back to the root is what makes them able to pass through the bubble. But first they have to realize their root created the bubble. When the Lyran 1 elder remembers why he created all of it to begin with and how, then he simply walks through to the other side with full knowledge of what his superpowers, and when he gets to the other side, and on the other side, all of us Yahs there are free of our low frequency connections, but attaches to all of the rest of the Yahs, depending on which Yah angle and lines you come from, depicts how you look and are perceived in this realm. In the Yah realm is where also we work together in telepathy and share knowledge together and work as a unit for the better good. Even we don't know who we are. We have our specialties, and as we work together, we know that we are offering the collective new ideas and approaches to things dealing with our overall reality of life on Earth. Now we do, at least. This was a missing piece that we, as a collective, never had before. Yet, as a collective, are now projecting and alchemizing these realities, we know it or not. Whether we think it is our thought or if it is reality, wasn't it? If it wasn't, does that mean that it is bad? Heavens no. Just means it needs to see where that message came from before we form an opinion about it. This is missing piece. Was what some called in cosmic land the white Draco and ancient organic connections to the pole that connected Polis in Gemini. Degrees from 0 to 5 degrees Capricorn all deal with mass projections and mass organizations of reality, the most outside part of the original network of human DNA consciousness from existence of blood on this planet, meaning affecting the masses. The closest to 0, the closer to the original form of the old projection and origination root lineage. The closer to 5 was blending of those perception in this new count the collective created. At 5 degrees is where we started seeing what some would call Illuminati timelines linked to government and Masonic spiritual distortions from way back, and then linked into our current reality. If your lines held this information, you have experienced some of what is being said. However, realize there are additional perceptions that were formed further out to make sure you're not holding too firm to something that could be outdated. From 6 degrees to 9 degrees, and the closer to 9 degrees seems to be the degrees that are dealing with the impact of 0 to 5 degrees collective projections, which in effect lessons appear and pressure seems even more intense in this realm. At 9 degrees, there is always an ignition of something new. At 9 degrees, you are the trigger that created something new, which leads us to Lyra 2. Remember, these are nebulas. They are cylinders within cylinders. So if I call Lyra 1 the original vampires from those old stories, then we would call what was created from darkness a witch or an angel sent to combat whatever was made in evil, or even vice versa. Everything is polarized. These degrees do overlap. For at 8 degrees and the culmination of the macros of the overall human projections from way out in Lyra. So you can think of it as 8 projections from way out in Lyra. So you can think of it at 8 degrees, the group of us Lyra 1s then embodied all we needed from 0 through 8. And at 9, we become a new projection within the body. Closer to Vega at 13 degrees and 55 degrees, which is the gamma frequency of blood in the planet in Capricorn, the closer we get to 11 degrees and 55 minutes in Capricorn, the more you are moving into a different frequency band associated with Lyra 2. However, all existing and connected to Lyra 1. Lyra 2. 8 degrees to 11 degrees, 55 minutes of Capricorn, or on the other side of Vega, starting at 16 degrees, 55 minutes to 18 degrees, 55 minutes of Capricorn. Lyra 2. Either range carries the same traits, but either the creator or the wielder. The analogy of an eye is best here. Go look at Lyra. It's a heart that has cords and energies from all those neighboring star systems and currents. Lyrans come in many forms and mixes of races. Once we get into Lyra 2, just look at an eye. There are 2 nebulas. The outer one that forms the white of the eye, which would be Lyra 1. Then the part that is the iris of the eye. Then the pupil, which is Vega 13 degrees and 55 minutes in this scenario. Then on the other side, same iris, landscape on the other side. Or is it the same? Mine has changed for sure as I processed and integrated and connected and expanded, sometimes to blow it up and appear as white flakes now on one side of the iris is just an example. Lyra 2 is the iris. Ignition, motor, ignition, kundalini. This is also connected to Siri and the natural organic part of the body that does have technology in it. So also, you can't judge technology and then expect your body to work right, especially not in this now. The tech was always inside our bodies. It was just harnessed wrong and then distorted to create false illusions and to have humans exist under its control. Technology was made in this realm to show everyone and teach programming. For technology is manifestation of the purest kind. It's just the way the numbers and letters were used to create false realities down here with the keys that they should not have had, since their consciousness was not high enough state to wield the power. That is evident in the now that we are in, yes? For Lyra 1, our lives were filled with being placed in experiences we had to get ourselves out of, mostly with our minds. I also mostly because Lyrans are connected to the body of the earth. For Lyra 2, all of this takes place within your body, specifically in your body, meaning your lessons might not deal with power structures and large organizations unless it's dealing with pharmaceuticals, any type of diseases, doctors, nurses, genetics, chemicals, and even being too pure. All of the Lyran 2 is about body, and the lessons are typically about what you are manifesting is showing up in your body, period, dot. That is the alchemical process of transmuting energy and knowledge, which is what the true basis of what a witch would be. Yet this is the basic knowledge that governs what others call pharmaceuticals today. It is all the same magic, and what I am showing you with the codes of these star systems with numeric breakdown of codes. Those codes given intent by the wrong Lyran 1 lineages is what caused the vaccines that showed up around us today. This is the truth. This is what Lyran 2 starseeds were processing for the collective and why they were here. Also, would call this collective the witches, warlocks, even demigods, depending on the connection to Lyra 1. Yet, for Lyra 2 starseeds, this is the worst part to process. The truth is, when I take your pain away, it doesn't go away. I take it on for you. This is a true healer and how it works down here when you are conscious of your gifts. You hold great power in how all of us treat our bodies, how we take care of ourselves. Not to mention, you have incredible Akashic libraries of herbs and natural remedies to everything. For when we understand how the consciousness of healing in our own mind projection of our body creates and heals our bodies, we remember we don't die and we are all connected, and only if we think of something can it even happen to us. We control it. It's your spaceship, remember? Lyra 2 holds a vast amount of connections to the many different species on all planes of existence. If you hold those points of energy listed, you are connected to the lines of the most original ancient lines and all culminations of the ones that came after it. Our source of power has always been together and family. This is what we forgot down here. The thread that connected us all into our true soul, which is so soft and so gushy that we tend to armor ourselves a little too well, much like a mermaid or an armadillo, yes? My MC is 9 degrees Capricorn, and I am a ton of Libra coming as a master soul from Sirius A. Sirius. Don't you see Iris in there? So this is how I can have an idea of Lyra too. However, when we remember that our minds dictate what happens to our bodies, and we remember the consciousness that we all connected to, not only the Cappies, and which are the Yas and Lyrans, but also our Cancer self below, which be the moonness of you, raw underwater reflection of your pure heart intention. There is a version that exists. Don't forget your body is bigger than the whole of the Milky Way. Libra is just the waypoints and the balancer in these realms. Lyrans are connected to more timelines on the Earth plane, which is why multidimensionality exists. Lyra 1 has this, but not as strong as Lyra 2, Vega, and Lyra 3, connected to the source of the energetics that connected to the original Lyran seed on one side with Vega on the other side is what gives you and the family you hailed from the source of power, to the true heart of the collective and the water that makes Earth so special. For our bodies and our tears created it, didn't it? Don't you know you are connected to the pure fabric of the being that is Gaia? All of your energy and healing ability in whatever way you master is backed by the collective if it's used for good. You are very powerful. Lessons about abuse of this power can be severe, But typically, we do it to ourselves, or did it to ourselves, for a higher purpose in this now, to show us the power we do have to change it and to lead others to the truth about it. Since Lyra 2 beings do connect into Vega on one side at 11 degrees and 55 orb, and again at 15 degrees and 55 orb of Capricorn, transmutation of blood in either healing or the process of anything you do. This is why it changes in your body, but you have to control your mind to realize why it is appearing to begin with. I know all about clearing blood. I was an AB negative, which is pure frequency and clears blood to gamma, which is why I can do light language healing so quickly. The same is true for Lyra 2 easily. Even your speech patterns mesmerize and words do hurt, so be careful what you say. It will come back on you quick. Also, you are more connected to gamma, and the closer you are to 11 degrees and 55 and the closer to 1355, the more you are connected into the lowest gamma frequency of the core, which would be considered galactic blood of 22 races, or the pupil in our above analogy. The lower frequencies you transmute through will dictate your reality if you are not conscious. This is a key here. Meaning, be aware that what energy you are clearing does change your frequency, which does sometimes change your reality. If you are a healer and you are not clearing your energy, you can end up in your patient's projections. Also, when you heal people or change the reality, it will manifest, sometimes in the form of bubbles, example, or maybe even with the change in your body. For beauty is truly self-care and self-awareness. We have proven that with how much we have changed our bodies since we activated down here. The entire beauty industry is based off us mixing potions, is it not? The actual process of putting the potion on is the key. Whatever potion you put on, yes, some will do better. However, the truth is, what you learn with all the knowledge of Lyra 3 connections into Aquarius is that you can tune it to do whatever you want. But unless you can get it, that everything is tuned, that you put into your body, no matter if you realize it or not, you won't remember how to tune it properly, and you teach the rest of us this process, right? I wrote the energies of Lyra 1 and Lyra 2 on the same day. Do you feel the difference in the information and the tone? Delivery was a little more pushy, a little more militant, maybe. Why? Lyrans were soldiers in whole existence. The problem was, as Lyrans, we were free. The problems as Lyrans is we are free from the rest of the collective. It takes us a while to figure out what the heck we want. Because if we are honest, Lyrans can do anything, literally, no matter what degree. However, if it doesn't make your heart sing and stir up your Cancer moonness of heart energy in this realm, it will not succeed, no matter how many Facebook ads you pay for. I'll be back for Lyra 3 and Vega soon.